Hello my friends, Scott here representing Youth Potential. Today I have my beautiful and gorgeous partner Carla with me once again.
Hello guys.
So guys, right, this video is all about being a supportive partner. If you're watching this, you have probably got a boyfriend, a girlfriend or whatever who is struggling with their mental health. Maybe they've got some sort of diagnosis of a mental disorder and you're really struggling to understand it. You're struggling how to kind of be a supportive partner, and you want the best for them. You want the best out of your relationship, and you just want everything to go as smoothly as possible. So this video was actually suggested to me by someone on Instagram, and I thought it was a really good idea because there are loads of people out there who are in relationships and either both of them or one of them has a mental health problem. Now, I myself have borderline personality disorder, depression and anxiety, and you have?
I have borderline personality disorder and autism and depression and anxiety.
Yeah, don't forget them. They're the big two, obviously. Yeah, and I just really want to help people that are in a relationship but just get the most out of it. So I know how much of a struggle it can be being with someone who's got a mental health problem, or if you've got a mental health problem and you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't, and you just want the relationship just to be good, because at the end of the day, you love each other, you care about each other, and you want it all to go as smoothly as possible. Now, there's no denying that there is no such thing as a perfect harmonious relationship, especially where mental health is concerned. There are going to be times when you're at each other's throats, or you're just not getting it, and you're arguing and stuff. And unfortunately, life is like that. But hopefully, with the points that I'm going to share with you in this video today, it's going to be able to make your relationship be a lot easier, okay? And this video is predominantly aimed at the person who doesn't have mental health problems in the relationship, okay? So the first thing you must understand is that your partner who has a mental health problem, that their illness is a legitimate medical condition. They can't just get over it. I know loads of people get told, oh, just get over it. It's not, you can't just get over it. If it was that easy, none of us would have mental health problems, okay? If someone feels depressed, just get over it. I'll tell you what that does. That doesn't help them get over it. It just makes them a lot worse, okay? I can tell you that from experience. And another thing you need to remember as well is that negative and destructive behaviour, so if your partner is doing things that are negative towards themselves or destructive towards themselves, please remember that that is their illness. It's not them. It's not a bad person. So for example, if one of us in the past have self-harmed, then we're able to look at each other and sort of say, well, it's the illness, it's not them. That doesn't define them. And it just makes it a little bit easier to kind of manage and deal with. So yeah, please remember, if your partner's doing stuff that is destructive towards themselves or other people, it's the illness, it's not them. You really do need to understand that, okay? So I've got a list of 6 things. Yes, it is definitely 6 things as I'm looking at my notes. Things that you can do in order to improve your relationship and be a supportive partner, okay? So the very first thing that you should do is do some research on their illness. The chances are you have no idea about their illness, you don't know any of the symptoms, and everything that they do is just bizarre to you. It's wild, it's alien, you just don't get it. So doing some much needed research will really, really help.
Yeah, I definitely think that would really help to understand their symptoms and kind of what they're going through more. Yeah, that would definitely be helpful to research into their illness and disorders.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, my family, okay, they're not my partners obviously, but they're my family, they're just as close to me. They did some research, looked on some websites about all the symptoms and the source of where the problems stem from and all stuff like that. So just through reading that, it helped them understand better. I mean, I didn't obviously need to look up BPD to understand Carla because I already looked it up for myself, but just knowing the symptoms, when your partner does things that are in the list of symptoms, it just helps you kind of, gives you that knowledge that they're doing that because this is what they're struggling with, and just makes it a little bit more easier to cope with, basically. Okay, so the second thing that's really important in being a supportive partner is communication. Okay, it's the key to any good relationship anyway, not just being a supportive partner of someone who has mental health problems, but it can be very challenging in a relationship with someone who's got mental health problems. Communication is a two-way thing. Both of you need to be really good at communicating, and my advice to you as a partner, if you want to be a good communicator, I think it really starts with accepting their illness, like we've mentioned earlier, but also being able to speak to them on the correct level, using the correct tone of voice. Now, maybe you've heard it said that as humans, when we communicate, we actually hear and interpret the tone of someone's voice way more than the actual words they use or the body language that they use. So if you're talking to them in an aggressive way because you're frustrated, and that's perfectly fine because that happens in a relationship and someone's got mental health problems, it's easy to get frustrated, but you've got to learn to practice to manage your tone, bring it down a bit, be a bit softer with your voice. The reason I think that you have to be softer is because the person listening to you, your partner listening to you, I think they find it easier to talk to you. They don't get so defensive, and that just helps the communication develop in the long run. Okay, so if I started shouting at you all the time, why aren't you happy? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? How would you feel?
Very uncomfortable. Yeah, wouldn't really want to open up, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just you've got to be soft from time to time. Sometimes you have to be assertive. Sometimes they need a little bit of encouragement, like, come on, get your ass out of bed. That's usually the one that I'm saying to you, isn't it?
I think it is really important not to be too pushy or forceful, though.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
take your time, and they will open up eventually when they feel like it.
Yeah, absolutely. There've been plenty of times where I've said to people, not just you, like, you know, if you feel like talking to me, talk. If not, I know they're going to come back to me later, and sometimes I won't open up to you straight away, but eventually I will, and I'm probably 100% sure that you feel a lot better when I eventually do open up to you. But yeah, it's just a tactic. Sometimes you just have to just be patient. Okay, number 3, and this kind of falls under communication. To be a supportive partner, you've got to be a very, very good listener.
It's very important not to jump to conclusions and to let them properly explain how they're feeling before you start giving your opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So if they're trying to express themselves and tell you whatever, if you're jumping to those conclusions and you're interrupting them, then what you're saying, they're not going to be listening to you because you're not listening to them. I mean, how many times have you been in an argument with your parents where you're trying to tell them how you feel?
So many times.
It's happened with my parents as well. Try and tell them how you feel, and it just seems to be going in one ear and out the other, and you just keep on repeating yourself, and there's no development in the relationship. You're not kind of working together. You're working against each other, and that just doesn't help anyone. Okay. Another thing about being a good listener as well is that it really helps develop. Sorry, it doesn't help develop. Being a good listener enables your partner to develop more trust in you. So if mental illness is something that they've kind of not developed recently, but kind of brought to your attention recently, saying like, oh, like your partner comes to you and says, I'm really struggling, and they're trying to talk to you and tell you how you're feeling, the more you listen and show that ability to empathize with them, they're going to want to talk to you more. Because if you just keep talking every time they're talking, or it doesn't seem like you're listening, they won't bother to want to talk to you. So just think, what's the fucking point? You know, just one ear and out the other. Not good at all. And sometimes your partner, all they want to do is vent. Okay, Sometimes they don't want to hear you say it's going to be okay. Sometimes they don't want to hear you give you advice. Sometimes they just want to get it all off their chest, clear their head, scream and shout and just get it all out. That's all they want, and for you to just stand there and listen and then put your arms around them afterwards. Okay? Sometimes that's all they want. Sometimes that's all I want. Sometimes I feel so pissed off and frustrated, and I deal with it by just telling you everything. You don't say anything, and then you come to me and give me a kiss and a cuddle, and then that's a lot better. Okay? Cool. Number 4, to be a supportive partner, is you've got to be prepared to hear or see things that are quite unusual.
Yeah. So it's quite normal for someone that has a mental illness to maybe come with you and say that they've self-harmed. It's not to get scared about that, just to listen to them and support them as best as you can. I've had an unusual experience with you at one point where we've been
one.
where we've been in town, and he's had his stress ball and he's been throwing it at signs and stuff because he's just feeling so angry. And he said to me that he's wanting to feel like he wants to punch people, which is obviously not good.
No.
So
I'm not a violent person, but sometimes when I get angry, I feel like I really want to punch people.
Yeah, so it's just taking your time and letting them get it off their chest, talk to you, give them things to do, maybe give them a stress ball or something. So yeah. Well,
it's better to throw a stress ball at signs and windows than a brick, for example, which I could have easily have done. So when you have a mental health disorder, it's very easy to do things that more mentally stable people will find quite unusual. And even me, as someone with borderline personality disorder, if I see other people that are acting unusual, who have mental health problems, sometimes even I find that unusual, even though I may have done it myself. But yeah, to be a good partner, you've got to be prepared to witness and experience these unusual things, but being there with your partner, it just helps them feel like they're not going through it alone. Okay, being able to accept these abnormalities, if you like, just helps them feel more comfortable around you, and it's just going to really strengthen that relationship because you're in it together. It's not just a one person thing. Okay, and again, just remember, it's the illness, it's not them. And do your absolute best not to be judgmental, okay? If they do some weird, crazy things, like put their hand in a tub of vanilla icing, rub it on their face, which I have seen, not with you, someone else. Just, it's okay. They're ill. Yeah. It's cool, okay?
Seen a lot of weird things.
Yeah, exactly. So, number 5, when it comes to being a supportive partner, is to be suggestive and encourage positive and constructive behaviours. So take inventory of what your partner loves. Okay, what do they like to do? What makes them happy? What makes them smile? What makes them excited and get motivated? You've got to be able to encourage them to do these things, okay? Because if they're feeling depressed, for example, they're going to be, I don't know, just laying all over the couch, all over the bed, not wanting to get out of bed, and you just think you can't. You know they can't just lay in bed, but if they're feeling depressed, that's all they want to do. You know it's not healthy for them. They probably know it's not healthy for them. So you've got to kind of encourage them to get out of bed. Like, I'm always out of bed before Carla is. Always. Yeah. I'm an early person, but you used to kind of sleep until 12, 1 o'clock, didn't you? Yeah. But when I started staying over, it'd be more sort of anywhere between 9 and 10. And I'll just encourage you to get your bloody arse out of bed. Yeah. And sometimes when you're feeling quite anxious or feeling down, I'll encourage you to do things. When we go out for a walk or play some video games, there's always something that we can do that will help us ride the urges, or just get out of the darkness and into the light or whatever. So yeah, find out, you know your partner, you know what they like. Just encourage them to do things that are going to be really beneficial to them. Okay, any kind of self-care, encourage them to. Sometimes in the past, when you've been in a real bad place, I've had to encourage you to even shower, for example. Or Carla's had to encourage me to get out the house, or let me go for a nap from time to time when I've been feeling miserable, and then I've woken up feeling right as rain. So yeah, Okay, and the last thing, number 6, is to look after yourself as well.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to support someone else if you're feeling like absolute shit. It's really important to also think of yourself, and I know that it's really difficult to when you really want to support that person that you love, but it is really important to take a step back and think of yourself if you can't basically handle it at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Carla was in hospital fairly recently, and it was getting me down a little bit. I was struggling. At first, it was okay. I was visiting her each day, and then I'd come away feeling like quite stressed out by it, and I wasn't looking after myself very well. But it did come to a stage where I thought, you know what, okay, I'm not going to see you today because I actually need a day to myself to just chill, just unwind, and just be me for once. Because if you're not being yourself, it's really hard to feel happy, to feel sane. And the last thing you need is to be stressed, because what happens then? You get stressed, you take it out on your partner. With their mental illness, they may not see that you're stressed because of what's going on. They may just think that you're being horrible to them. So yeah, you've got to look after yourself. Find time for yourself every now and then. I'm sure your partner, no matter how ill they are, is going to understand that, you know, I want for her what's great, and she wants for me what's great as well. If I'm trying to look after her, or vice versa, and I'm feeling stressed, then she'll happily do things and remind me to like look after myself. It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe it's just taking a day to myself of not seeing each other and me just playing on the PlayStation or whatever. Yeah, you've got to look after yourself. The more you look after yourself, the easier it is going to be to look after your partner. Okay? Yeah. And that's all we have. That's the 6 most important points about looking after after being a supportive partner. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. All the best. You take care. Okay? See you later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.